Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm super excited to be talking about my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. This is the fourth update in this series and it has been such an amazing experience. I've been having so much fun. I'm so happy I decided to do this project pan for 2019. Not only has it felt like a big accomplishment, but it's just been so much fun and I feel like so many people have jumped in and done their own version of this project, which is amazing. This project was heavily inspired by my friend Alexi, so endless thanks to Alexi for having done this over the last 2 years and really inspiring me to try to hit pan in as many eyeshadows as I possibly can in this year. And so far, I'm definitely on a good track. My goal was loosely to hit pan in one eyeshadow every single month, and so far, I mean, if you are keeping up with this project, you'll know that I have been doing that, if not exceeding that, and it has been so much fun. I cannot wait to share with you guys all of my progress, and I cannot wait to see what this next, like the remainder of this year holds for this project pan, because I just feel like it's gonna be really interesting rolling in more shades and hitting more pan and just playing with all of my eyeshadows within my collection. So let's just hop right into the progress because I'm super excited to share it all with you. So I do have pretty good progress this month to share. So the first palette that I want to talk about is my Fenty Beauty Galaxy palette, and I did select one shadow from this palette randomly. So the shade that I selected is called Space Out, and it is a dusty, glittery shade, and I did hit pan on it this past month. So it's this shadow right here. I hit actually pretty significant pan, and I felt like it was never going to happen. It was like so close, so close, so close for forever. So I really did work on it pretty hard last week and the week before, and I'm so happy to see that pan there. This was such a beautiful shade to play with, and I'm happy that I got it in this earlier part of the year so that it would, I don't know, I felt like it's really smoky eyes, really like dusty kind of shadows suit this earlier part of the year, and now I'm really excited to play with more colorful shades and more bright, springy and summery kind of shadows. So I'm happy to get this shade out of the way and move on to something new. I mean, I could really draw something very similar to this again, or something in the same kind of range, but I'm excited that I did hit pan on this. And this was so much fun to reach for actually through this project. I was really debating decluttering this at the end of last year, but I hadn't played with it quite enough to really have an opinion on it. So I'm happy that this rolled into this project so early on and had a chance to play with it. It is a little bit more of a difficult kind of product to work with because it is pressed glitter shadows, but the result is absolutely beautiful, and I'm really happy to have this in my collection, and hopefully I can roll in another shade from this in the future. My next randomly drawn eyeshadow came from the Colourpop Dream Street palette. This is a collaboration palette with Kathleen Lights, and the shadow that I selected is the Bright Matte True Red in this shade, or in this palette, and it is this shade right here called Spark. And as you can maybe see, I can't tell if you can, yeah, I think you can see on camera, I hit the teeniest little pan, and that was just yesterday because I decided to play with this. I was doing an all yellow eye and I put it right on the inner corner, and I love the way that that looked. And I'm so happy I ended up hitting pan on it in that look. I did create several really cool looks with this eyeshadow throughout this project, but especially over the last month, I really like honed in on it and decided to really do more creative things. I played with this as a liner in several different looks. I loved it with a nice like bronzy eye, and then this as a really nice bold winged liner. It was so much fun. I am so happy to have hit pan on this. Now I have 2 pans in this palette. The next shadow I have to talk about has been in here since the very beginning of this project, and it comes from the Zulu by Julius Place. Beautiful palette. I did talk about this in my Loving Lately video, and that's because it's just an amazing palette, so I'm so happy to be reaching for it. And the shade that I randomly drew is this yellow shade right here. Of course, you can see I have not yet hit pan, but I don't know if you can tell from there that there really is a serious dip starting to finally form in this pan. And because there's so much real estate in this pan, I feel like I just kind of swirl my brush very loosely into it, and so I'm never really targeted, which I don't really tend to do with my eyeshadows in general, but I'm not really targeted into one specific spot, especially because I like to really blow out and diffuse this color. So the progress is minimal, but I do think that it's starting to become very apparent, and I have no idea what kind of time frame it's going to take me to hit pan on this shadow, but I do love this palette. I am happy to be reaching for it, and I am wearing the yellow on the inner portion of my eye, and then I actually am wearing this like gold pink kind of shade on the lid as well, and I've been loving every time I reach for this palette, integrating something else into my eye look and having so much fun with it. So it is a beautiful palette. Progress is really, really slow going with this. This is the only shadow that has been in here since the very beginning of the project that still remains. So I feel like that's not going to go away for quite some time, but really happy to be playing with it. It's a beautiful, just like true matte yellow, and I feel like it's just so much fun and such a beautiful shade. So happy to be focusing on it. This next shadow comes from the Blush Tribe Blossom palette, and this is a newer palette to my collection, but I'm really happy to have this in this project to be reaching for it. The shadow that was randomly drawn is the shade called Zinnia, which I feel like in the pan actually pulls very peachy orangey, but on my eyes, I have it on my outer corner today in my crease and on the outer corner rather, and it pulls kind of pink on my skin tone, kind of corally almost, like a deeper coral. And in the swatch, it does pull like a neon orange kind of shadow. So I feel like I haven't really wanted to reach for it because of every time I sit down and I kind of play with it and swatch it on my hands, I feel really intimidated by it. But every time I use it on my eyes, it actually is this beautiful blushy, corally kind of shade, and I feel like it goes with so many different eye looks, but I haven't reached for it quite enough yet through this project. So I am, of course, working towards hitting pan on it, and throughout this next month, I'm hoping to really reach for it even more than I have in the past because I haven't reached for it enough at all. There is definitely a bit of a dip starting to happen. It is the most used shadow within this palette, hands down. So I'm really happy to be reaching for it, reaching for this palette as a whole. I feel like that's kind of the recurring theme with all of these. This project really helps me just rotate and use my palettes that I already own, and I don't really have the temptation to really buy anything new because of this project as well, but hoping to make more serious progress on this over the coming month, but again, enjoying using this palette while it's a part of this project. And the final two shadows in this project are actually both from the Urban Decay Electric palette, so I want to talk about them together. It was weird that last update when I got to roll in two new shadows, I actually pulled them both from this palette, but I am so excited because this really is one of my favorites still in my collection. It's really what got me into colorful, fun eyeshadow and pull me out of my comfort zone of like coppers and bronzes, and this palette really changed the makeup game for me personally, so I'm so happy to have it in this project pan. And I must admit, I haven't reached for it an absolute ton over this last month, but the two shadows that are in this project are this one right here called Thrash and this one right here called Slow Burn, and they both are shimmer shades, but not really. Like, they both perform truly as mattes because they have just a dusting of glitter within them, and I actually quite like that they are more of a sheer matte formula when you wear them on the eyes. So I did swatch them both on my hands, and you can see I built them up, but they are kind of more of a sheer powder, and it's because they're pressed pigments. And of course I haven't hit pan on either of these shadows, but I've honestly not even used Slow Burn once within this project pan just because I did have Spark, and it is quite a comparable kind of shade. So I'm so excited to finally dip into this now that Spark is used, and not used up, but now that Spark is moved out of this project pan. Thrash I've been having an absolute blast with, especially when I'm doing greeny eyeshadow looks. I've been reaching for this so much. This is such a beautiful shade, and I'm just so happy to have it. I actually love it paired with Colourpop Tea Garden. It's been kind of my go-to on days when I can't really think of what I want to do with my eyeshadow, but I want to have like a look, an eyeshadow look, especially because I am panning so many shadows. So as much as I haven't made a ton of progress on these shadows, really happy to have them in this project pan again. So these are the 4 shadows that are currently still a part of this project pan, and they all are mattes, and definitely a good range of shades, but I would love to have a little bit more diversity in this project pan. And we are going to pull 2 more shadows to include in this roundup, which I'm very excited about. Now, I did kind of switch around things in my spreadsheet, so I no longer have like the 270 variables that were in it, but now I'm down to 249, and that's because I went through the spreadsheet and I eliminated everything that had pan in it and everything that has either been in this project or is currently in this project, because those shadows just truly aren't really eligible for this type of project pan. This project, my goal is really to hit pan in as many eyeshadows as possible, and that was a pretty big eye-opener last month when I rolled in a shadow that had pan already in it and I opted to skip over that one. So I do have 249 eyeshadows that I could draw for this project pan. So I have put in variables 1 to 249 into my Pretty Random app, and we're just gonna draw an eyeshadow to work on. So shadow 243. And that number corresponded to the Revolution New-Trals versus New-Trals. Here's the name of it. New-Trals versus New-Trals palette. And I got the second to last shadow in this palette, which is this one right here. It looks like a metallic in the pan, but it actually is more of a satin kind of shade, and it's a cool toned gray brown kind of color. It's actually like a deep taupe, I'd say, just because there is no other way that I can really explain what it is, but it actually is a beautiful shade. I did swatch it on my arm and it pulls slightly purpley, so it definitely is more on the cool toned side. But I do think this is actually a beautiful shadow, and I think this is gonna be really nice for like a one and done kind of eyeshadow look, or it could pair really cool with Slow Burn in the crease and this on the lid. Really well with Thrash as well, I think, for a really grungy kind of look. So this is something that I was not expecting to have in this project pan. I mean, I don't really know what to expect at all, but this is not something that I was hoping for or gravitating towards, but I am happy to have this in this project. This is only 1 gram of product in this single pan, so I don't think it's something I'm gonna hit pan on immediately, but I do think it's something that I can work on for a couple months and then move out of this project pan. I have really barely used this palette since I got it from a makeup swap with Undercover Panner on Instagram. So I really do need to delve in and play with this. This is just something that I feel like is going to suit my needs come the fall time, but whatever, we're just gonna play with it at this time of year, and I'm excited to hop into it and, you know, just take on the challenge. So I am gonna draw my final shadow now, and again, between variables 1 and 249, we're gonna pick the next shade. So the next selection is number 194. So my hopes for a metallic and for a single shadow have not yet been realized. And when I saw the name of the eyeshadow that I just drew for, I was honestly kind of terrified. It comes from my Blush High Blossom palette, and the shadow is called Dandelion. And so I immediately thought it was going to be the matte yellow in here, but actually it is the matte white eyeshadow. So it's this one right here. Of course, this whole palette's matte, but it's this white shadow right here. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it. I don't know how I'm going to make sure that I hit pan on it other than maybe using it as like a, I don't think I'm gonna wanna use it as an inner corner highlight. I don't really think this is the kind of shadow that I'm gonna want to use. So we're gonna see how the next month goes with this selection. I guess I'm kind of feeling a little discouraged by this pick. I was really hoping to get something fun and shimmery. So this is the shadow right here. I don't think it's something that's unusable, but it's not something that's gonna be fun to pan for me personally. And it is a good thing because it means that I'm going to be reaching for my Blush Try Blossom palette even more frequently, because there are now 2 shadows in this project pan from this palette, but I just don't really know how to use white. So if you guys have any suggestions on how I can make sure that I get a lot of use out of a matte white that I'm trying to hit pan on, let me know. This color palette is definitely not what I was expecting to see, but I mean, I'm gonna work with it. So I don't want to sound like negative, but this is probably gonna be the month where I see the least progress. I'm gonna keep working definitely on the first shadows that were in here. I don't know if I'll see as much progress on these newer picks into this project, but I don't know. I just really don't know how the next month is gonna go. So yeah, we'll just have to kind of see what happens throughout the rest of this project. So I really don't want to end this like negatively because I am going to have so much fun with this project pan anyways. I just think I was really hoping for like a fun shimmer or something metallic, or even just like a good neutral that I can wear all the time, and unfortunately that just has not yet happened for me. So this is the color palette that we're working with over the next few months for sure. And hoping to hit pan on something over this coming month. I really am not sure that I will be able to, based on the progress that I made over this past month and based on the colors that I did select for this project from here on out. I would assume the next shadow that I'm gonna hit pan on is gonna be from the Zulu palette, the yellow. But it's such a large pan, I truly do not know if that is possible in the next month or so. And then the next one that I would say is most likely is probably gonna be Zinnia, now that I've played with it a lot over this past month and I am quite happy with that eyeshadow. So yeah, this is what we're working with now. Let's see how the next few months play out. And yeah, that's everything for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.